And actually, there's a group, you may be familiar with Food and Water Watch. They're based in DC. And they're focused on this issue on a national scale in the US and somewhat globally, but mostly in the US. And one of their big things they're advocating for is, since water is scarce, trying to charge the actual cost of water. It's kind of like, you know, subsidies with oil or whatever, where if people actually paid the actual cost, it might be higher than what they're paying now, but we could fix the infrastructure and we could, you know, take better care of the source water supplies. And that's not something that our group, certainly I think that we support that too, but what's happening in North Carolina is people are paying way more than the actual cost of water. You know, they're just being ripped off, and a lot of them can't afford it.
I wonder if, like, even the way we talk about that water is scarce, I don't know if it's necessarily scarce, it's just that it's controlled. You know, in general, resources are in the hands of, like, a very small group of people, and that are using way more than what they really need, you know, like.
Yeah.
I think that there is enough for everybody to have these basic needs covered, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Not necessarily scarce, but there is. It's just some people are using way more than what they really need.
Yeah, and I think
that makes it scarce for others.
Yeah, especially when you think about clean water that's safe for drinking, and you think about, at least in this country, you know, how many people take long showers, and how many people, and that's drinking water, quality water, you know, and how many people flush their toilet with water that you could drink. And then it's really expensive to treat it, to get it back there. So I think that's a really good point. I mean, the population is growing, so it's going to be harder and harder, but I think you're right that it's all about that kind of power shift, that things are all sort of favoring this one small group of people right now. That's a really good point.
Yeah, and I see, like, in the near future, the potential if intelligent people get on different social networks, Google and things like that, and, like, know how to, like, you know, use an archer's arrow, at least after its most effect.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to be easy to expose this stuff and get, like, the public on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys are doing the work right now, putting together, like, good reports, like, learning how to talk to people.
Yeah.
Because, like, whenever the moment, it's going to be like, I don't know, it can go viral, but the moment has to be seized, kind of thing.
And I think that's something that I'm really interested in, actually, is that things like bottled water companies and all of these other companies, they're really good at marketing.
Right.
And my thought is, all we have to do is get good at marketing, because people are, like, I feel like such a big percentage of the population is just like, if there's good marketing, it just goes straight in, and and that's it. So all you've got to do is somehow, without the big budgets that these big corporations have, figure out, like, how to tap into that.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah.
Learn it.
Good. Excellent. I like it.
You got it. I mean, we say, like, it's about to happen or whatever. It's happening. It's been happening. You know, like, colonization, that's all it was. Like, there's this really strong history in other countries, and even here, you know, and Bolivia, for example. Like, that's such a good example of people fighting against privatization of water, because they said they couldn't collect rainwater, you know, like stuff like that. So I don't think we're starting from scratch. Like, there's a lot to learn from movements in other places too that have been doing this for ages and generations, like really fighting against, you know, the building of the dam or the hydroelectric or privatizing water. So I mean,
absolutely.
I don't want to think that we're, like, in a vacuum without that historical, you know, like,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm a big nerd on the internet, and, like, the Google guys are like, can you imagine what's going to happen whenever, like, language translations like that, and then you can do a Google Hangout, you know, with people in Bolivia. that can tell you the history of what they're doing there.
I mean, it is out there, you know.
Yeah, I think that you're right. It's not. I mean, that particular situation is cool, but there are already ways to sort of share that because of technology that there weren't 20 years ago or 5 years ago, or it's always like I can't even keep up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really good point, and I think as people just tend to get kind of isolated in this is our issue, but I think one of the things that as an organization on a small scale in North Carolina we try to do is connect people who are facing the same thing. Right. And I think if we could start doing that on a global scale, like organizing is about learning from others who are going through the same struggles, and that just makes us stronger because it's like, oh, we're not the only ones who are having our water sold back to us at this really expensive price for no reason. Yeah.
How much of that do you experience personally?
What?
Just connecting to other groups and organizations.
A lot actually. But not so much on this issue. We're working with a lot of community groups, and actually one of the cool things that's happened in the last year is this company Aqua tried to raise their rates again after it had only been like a year that they had the old rates. And let me just give you the background. Would anybody be willing to share, if you are on a public water supply, what you pay on your bill? Just to contrast, you're not. Anybody?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. Anybody ballpark? I know I'm on Asheville City Water, and for water and wastewater, we pay a bill every 2 months that's about $60. So that's about $30 a month. So, in contrast to Aqua customers, they pay about $20 to $30 every month just for water. If they have sewer, every month it's a flat rate. It doesn't matter how much you use. $63. So that's like $80 a month right there. So that's more than twice what I'm paying on a public supply. So they got to raise it again. And so we had been doing a lot of this outreach already, and we knew a lot of the people who'd spoken up in the last time they tried to raise their rates. So we started and it wasn't us, it was the people in the communities. But where we could and where we saw oh, these people are doing the same thing, we would just kind of say, hey, you need to connect. And I think that's what is good, because it's not about coming in and doing something. It's about helping people to organize for themselves and make the movement for themselves. And so they were able to get together, get a bunch of letters in, get a bunch of people speaking at the hearing, and we helped to sort of get some media coverage. And before you know it, this group of lawyers who work on analyzing and who are always kind of, you're like, are they in the pocket of the company too? You always kind of figured that they were. They came back and they slapped the company in the face. And it was all because all of these people showed up and really didn't just say, well, my community has this problem. They actually spoke as sort of a statewide group, which it's so hard, it's so easy to feel isolated, I think, when you're in this kind of situation. So we're still waiting for the final decision, but Aqua is not happy. And it's really exciting. And I think that's it's only a small piece of what could happen if truly everyone got together and was able to connect like that. But
that's all that cohesion happened in what kind of time frame?
Well, let's see. November they announced they were going to try and raise the rates, and then there were hearings in April across the state. And right there, and you had a few strong leaders step up. But there were just little organizing groups getting together everywhere. And then I wish I had brought some pictures. There were people holding signs outside of the building, like Aqua with a line through it, and we want our water back and stuff like that. So it was less than a year, but these people had been talking about it already, and they had already kind of organized for the last hearing. So it was.
Do you have a sense of how it got stronger? For the second one?
I think it was just sort of the raw feeling of They had just gone through this.
Right.
And what we think happened is that they didn't feel like they were heard the last time, because it was like the company asked for maybe a $68 sewer rate, and dozens of people showed up and said that's way too high, and showed all these reasons why, and my kids are, this is happening to my family. And then it got moved down to 63, and it was being raised from like 30 something. So it was a huge percentage. And so I think they saw that the regulators didn't really listen to them,
Right.
and I think that made some people really mad.
Right.
And they started this time, what was kind of interesting is they started calling people out like, Commissioner so-and-so, I know that you used to work for a different water company, and
Okay.
Why did this woman who is now with the public staff lawyers, she now works for Aqua, and they started turning the lens
Right.
on those guys.
Nice.
And they thought, well, we've got to do something, or we're going to have more scrutiny than we want, So I think that was the strategy that came out of everybody being so angry that
Right.
they felt like everything was, the odds were against them, and everybody was sort of on the same side, the regulators and the companies. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, so this is great. This is exactly the kind of discussion I was hoping would come up. But
Yeah. I mean, this is stuff I'm curious about, because this is what really works or doesn't, or is,
yeah,
like,
and
on the
it's
ground,
something that I
real
think
stuff.
we're all always learning. And from my personal experience as a nonprofit group, where really our heart is in the organizing and the community work. But we often get stuck in the office reading through documents and, or even just trying to prevent horrible bills from going through the state legislature. And we get away from that. But I think it's really sort of the drive to sort of work with people and go out and hear people's stories that brought our small staff of 3 all together. And I think, it's just easy to get distracted by all the noise, but so I think we're still all always looking for new strategies and changing it up and seeing what would work. And it depends on the issue too. But it's always good to get new energy in and people who are really passionate about it. So.